and Justice never really panned out. So we do have to see if maybe it is going through the lower route and picking up those younger kind of players and growing them, enveloping them into Division I players. Maybe that is the key. Yeah. But I for sure agree that they'll be okay.
All right, now moving on. One of the downsides of RMU's success as a mid-major team is that they have limited NIL funds, is that players who perform well can look on to greener pastures athletics-wise. With star names such as Alvaro Folgueras and Amarion Dickerson entering the portal, who should the Colonials look towards to fill the holes on the roster? Josh?
I have a little bit of maybe an optimistic pick, but I picked Gabe Dines. He's the center from Youngstown. When you're losing the height and the big man ability in Alvaro and Dickerson, I think Gabe Dines is perfect for that. You're going to replace your record-breaking block setter with a man who led the NCAA in blocks. So I think the 7-3 build with 7 points per game, shooting 70% from the field, I would love to see Gabe Dines in an RMU jersey. The only issue is he's probably going to seek a lot of attention from elsewhere, maybe arguably a bit higher in one of the Power 4 conferences.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with that would be a nice pickup, having kind of like the blocks not really go away. And with my guy that I think that RMU should go after, is kind of agreeing with you that there's going to be a lot of looks from other schools. But that's Jamichael Stillwell from Milwaukee. I think he had a great year this year. He's a 6'8", 225-pound power forward. He's 40 pounds heavier than Dickerson, 10 pounds heavier than Alvaro, so he has some more size to him. Kind of like a Ishmael Plett, but with offense. You see here 13 points a game, a little bit under 11 rebounds a game, and 1 steal per game, which was 7th in the NCAA, and he was 7th in the NCAA for rebounds per game. I mean, he's been on a winning team. Milwaukee has been a decent team in the Horizon League. He understands the style and the pace of how this league kind of is, and it's going to be hard to fill Dickerson's shoes just because of the year that he had this year. But I think in terms of replacement, I think that's honest. It's a good fit just because it's kind of just a heavier, more offensively gifted Dickerson.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with both you guys. The two big things that the Colonials are going to be losing with Folgueras and Dickerson leaving is that interior presence and someone who can run towards the basket. And like you said, Stillwell is that guy who's one of the best rebounders in the country, and just rebounds are so important. It helps you get extra possessions for your team. And then Dines, you can never go wrong with someone who can protect the basket well. It's the foundation for a perfect defense.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that interior defense is going to be something you are going to have to fill because, just looking at the effort that Dickerson gave in, that's something that in and of itself is going to be a huge thing to replace. Just guys who are willing to buy in, and I think Dines really showed out in the Horizon League Championship in Indy. And if I'm told, I'm just going to, instead of trying to develop, maybe I am going to push for a win now roster, and with that does mean taking a Horizon League proven guy in Dines.
And in a win now program, in a win now program, Stillwell against the best team in the Horizon League. Against RMU in the 2 matchups, he had 12 points and 10 rebounds, and then 26 points and 7 rebounds. So he knows how to win against good teams, which RMU needs.
All right, now let's see if the Colonials can work the portal to get back to where they were this year. But continuing on with the transfer portal, there have been some criticisms toward it in recent years, from bias towards big schools to it allowing more athlete choice. No one can seem to agree whether it's a blessing or a curse. However, the portal is here to stay. So how can it be improved? Joey?
It needs to be pushed back. The date for this portal needs to be pushed back because, I know you can enter the portal whenever you want, but, joining teams is at a later date. The issue is that date is during the tournament. I mean, we had, for 2 examples in this tournament so far, Karis Bile played for Vanderbilt. 13 minutes after his team lost, he entered the portal. There's no loyalty, which kind of hurts, what the NCAA used to be, repping your school, showing, school pride, and now guys leaving as soon as they lose. It's not really a good look for them or the NCAA. And 2, leaving during their seasons playing. Justin Pippen, son of NBA legend Scottie Pippen, plays for Michigan. He's in the transfer portal. He left. And I don't get why the NCAA thinks it's a good idea to have a date open up, or have the date being available for players to leave schools when the reason why they're leaving is just money. Sure, they could say it's not money, but I think it's really just about the money. And if to have this portal be successful, which I don't think will ever be, they need to push back the date until after the tournament's over.
No, and I agree. I think a large part of it is the money. I think a lot of guys do love their team and what the culture is with their team, but
But then they wouldn't leave then. They wouldn't leave right after.
I think the issue with your thing, Joey, is you're just delaying the inevitable. I think you really need to find a way to really solidify the portal, and it's kind of just like a leaking mess right now where just guys are going through and teams are shifting and changing identities every season. So what I wanted to do is I tried to think of a new rule to really change it around, and essentially I called it the run it back rule. Essentially, all you are going to do is when you make a conference championship, whether it be football, basketball, whatever, as soon as you do that, the players on your roster become restricted free agents in that sense, where the university will have the opportunity to match any offer given to them by another school. This allows these guys, because every day we're pushing towards being quote-unquote employees
but then that's just pro sports. That's just pro sports then.
Plus
And that's the NCAA isn't pro sports yet.
Joey, you're saying keep it as is, just don't let it happen during the season, but have it still be. I'm trying to keep an opportunity.
Because the portal's not going to close. The portal will be open. It's not going away.
The issue
as we said.
of itself, though, Joey, is the portal needs to find a way to stop letting guys just keep going through and going through. Cam Woods came here having played. This is his fourth school in 5 years.
Okay.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Obviously, he had a great season, and it takes some time for guys to really find their feet. But I'm saying guys really shouldn't be doing that, and I think it hurts these programs who are trying to build something. You look at these mid-major teams, they have always been stuck in a sort of limbo. We're going to see it with RMU. The last time a team in the Horizon League has repeated, it's been 5 years, and that was NKU, and before that, it was another 5 or 6 years before that.
But if the money's an issue, and if it's a mid-major school like RMU, and a team like a Power 4, like say for example, if Alvaro wants to decide to go to Pitt or something else, if Pitt offers him 6 figures and the school has a chance to match that, the school just can't afford it. So
but the opportunity is, or the thing is, they have no chance to do that right now. All I'm saying is I just want to give these schools the chance to match any type of offer that these guys are getting. Like, look at Dickerson. That it seems to be what it is with him.
All right, now coming up after the break, we'll be moving over to the women's side of March Madness, so don't go anywhere.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses. You heard how loud
I heard. It wasn't you. Yeah. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
All right, welcome back to Sports Talk in the Burgh. Now, on Monday night, in their second round game against the Mississippi State Bulldogs, USC came away with a blowout 37-point dub. However, it was a Pyrrhic victory, as their star guard Juju Watkins went down with a torn ACL early in the game. Now, without their leading scorer, two-time first-team All-American player, and 2025 Big Ten Player of the Year, the Trojans' tournament future looks murky. In light of Watkins' injury, who is now the favorite to win it all? Josh.
You know, I'm actually going to look at a bit of a sleeper. It was brought to my attention by Maryland fanboy himself, Michael Deemer.
A not very smart fanboy.
Well, I'm just going to, I kind of walked with Deemer here, and I'm kind of now on that Maryland bandwagon. They're second in the Big Ten in scoring. They were third in field goal percentage and three-point percentage. They beat Alabama, who is a very good SEC team, and we have to remember that because the SEC has been kind of the big
South Carolina
overload.
has. South Carolina has. I don't think
Well,
many
yeah,
other
but
other.
I mean, Bama was a really good team, and they were only 1 seed below Maryland. So while it wasn't an upset, I would look at it as a very good win overall for Maryland. And I just think when you look at what they've done against the best teams, when you look at what they did against USC and UCLA, they won 7 of their last 9 against the teams going into the tournament. So I think they've kept it close against the big dogs. They've shown that they can win in these tournament games. And so I think when you look at that overall, they're going to have a little bit of momentum. If they can knock off that South Carolina team, which is a big ask, it's going to be a big reach for them to do. If they can do that, I do think they would have a great shot at winning it all.
I disagree with you. I think that this year it's been a while. It's been 8 years since this team has won it, but I think this is UConn's year. I think Paige Buchers and Sarah Strong are just playing out of this world right now. You know, Paige just under 20 points a game, Big East Player of the Year, unanimous, all Big East first team, with her teammate Sarah Strong also being a unanimous first team pick. And I just think that this year, I think without Caitlin Clark and I think without as dominant as South Carolina has been the past couple of years, I think that this is the year that Coach Gino and Paige can kind of, gel together. I mean, Paige and Strong have been very complimentary of each other this year. Paige being a guard, Strong being the, power forward that a lot of these, women's teams need to kind of show some defensive presence and just some size that some teams may not have. And I just think that this year, I mean, unless they run into South Carolina, I don't think there's anyone stopping them. Like I don't think Maryland can. I don't think Maryland can stop UConn this year.
My thing is though, every year we run into that argument of what happens to UConn. Why can't UConn get over the hump? And every year it's always the same thing. They run into that powerhouse school.
I mean, UConn this year is just different. They're 33-3, their best record in 15 years. They have the best defense in the country out of 360 plus teams,
and also
the 9th best offense too.
Yeah, and
it's their time. It is UConn's time.
And they're 6-3 against top 25.
Paige, I was going to say, I'm not trying to blank any of those stats right there because I think Paige Buchers is really going to go into the WNBA and immediately be a great player. I am just saying every year it's what happens when they run into those big teams. And so until I see them get over that hump, I'm not picking
And this year they're winning. That's all I'm going to say.
It's also not unwise to count out USC. In that game after Watkins went out the first quarter, Kiki Irfan dropped 36.
Not a threat.
Won by 40.
Not a threat.
They know how to win, though.
Continuing on, as we enter the Sweet 16 this weekend, we inch ever closer to crowning a men's basketball national champion. As of right now, the number 1 seeds look unstoppable. Duke, Houston, Auburn, and Florida have all been dominating their ways into the second weekend. Now, do any of the underdogs have a chance of dethroning the 1 seeds? Joey, what do you think?
Yes, and that team is the second seed Michigan State Spartans. I think this tournament so far they've proven that they haven't. The Big Ten team has not won since I think 2000. That was Michigan State. I just think this year that they have 2 main players that are honestly just different than each other. Not each other, but different than the other teams. Jane Atkins, in the tournament, 13.5 points a game, 3 rebounds, and then Trey Holloman, he's off the bench. He's leading their team in scoring with 14 points and just under 4 assists a game, shooting 70% from 3. This year, there's been a lot of questions about why these teams are not shooting too well, and they think the ball inflation, whatever. I think this year that if you can make say 30-40% of your threes, you're going to be put in a very good position. And also Michigan State, all of their major stats, they have been better in the second half. So if Michigan State's either leading or losing by a couple points, I think that it's going to be very difficult for one of these top seeds like Duke, Auburn, or Florida to be able to compete with a Michigan State team that has been playing so well in the second half, which that time of the game wins you games.
Well, I am going to actually pick another Michigan team with a unique style of offense, and that is, of course, just Michigan. I think their unique style of offense with having their 2 7-foot big guys makes them a really interesting thing, similar to what we know about Alvaro and Amarian Dickerson. I think that's just a unique type of thing to go up against defensively and talking about that interior presence in the paint, and also offensively with their scoring output. Since ending the season with 3 losses, they haven't lost since. They've won all 5 tournament games that they have played in since the regular season ended. Trey Donaldson is playing out of his mind, and I like him in an Auburn revenge game, which they're going into. I think, of course, they lost twice to Michigan State, and I'm not saying
by 13 and 17, which I mean that
It's a larger margin. Without watching those games as close, they weren't. Those games did come down to like free throws at the end, and which really kept sending that.
But
score
yeah, okay,
out.
but that's how a lot of the games.
But I just think this Michigan team knows how to do it in the tournament games. Of course, I am a little bit nervous about Izzo and March. It's nothing to take away from Michigan State there. But I just think this Michigan team knows how to win in these knockout round games, and I really am interested. I think they're familiar with Michigan State to the point where I might pick them over them in the tourney.
Now, if I had to pick a team that I think could go all the way, it would be BYU. They've just been absolutely incredible. Their offense has been just electric.
Over what we just said? BYU as like a sleeper team.
They've been incredible. I think they're going to beat Alabama.
I don't know. I think now it's going to come down to the elite teams this year, other than a Cinderella run.
But once again, that remains to be seen. Now, March Madness has historically been defined by one word: chaos. It seems like every single year there is some kind of special player going absolutely insane in the first round, like Jack Golke for Oakland, or there's some team that goes on a magical Cinderella run, like St. Peter's a couple of years ago, or a fan that just goes viral, like Sister Jean from Loyola Chicago. This year, it's been a little bit different. There haven't been very many upsets, and those teams that have been the underdogs that have won have gone out in the next round. So with this March Madness moving forward, is this something that is going to continue to happen, or will the bracket gods smile down upon us once again? Josh?
Listen, being the hopeful guy I am, I will say that no, it's not like March Madness is going to be without upsets forever. But I do think when you look at the long run, are you going to see anytime soon that number of, what is it, like 162 to 1 or 2 for those 15 and 16 scene upsets? Do I think that number's going to increase anytime soon? Probably not. I think these teams are going to find it a little harder to keep consistently growing and putting out a program. But then again, it is any given Sunday in this case with these teams. So I think Robert Morris put up a great fight like we talked about earlier. And I think, could they have gotten over that hump? Yes. And then that would have changed everything. Maybe the perspective is, oh, look at these SEC teams. And the narrative kind of changed. It's a little reactionary for my liking. But in terms of the long run, I do think you are going to be seeing less and less of the McNeeses go forward. You're going to see less of the Loyola Chicagos, less of the Robert Morrises, Oaklands.
I just think, sure, the portal is going to be making these Power 4 schools, especially the schools with a lot of money, very hard to beat. But the Power 4 schools, the top seeds, they've been dominant teams, like extremely dominant teams every year. This isn't like with the portal being like open as it is now. It's not like these Cinderella teams haven't been able to perform lately. In recent years, 11 times there's been 15 upsets over 2 seasons.
But how do you expect these Cinderella teams, quote unquote, to keep getting better if every year they kind of show some promise or they develop a guy who's going to get yanked up?
It's happened every year. The Cinderella teams have been able to beat teams that people think are like some of the greatest teams ever. Oral Roberts against Ohio State. Ohio State had every matchup locked on them, but then Oral Roberts came up, upset them. UBMC and FDU had no chance against Virginia and Purdue. Look what they did. They beat them against teams that were arguably the best teams in college that year. I think it will be harder.
So what is your point, Joe? Is your point that it's going to just stay? It's this year.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the top every year, but I don't think that for future teams or that for future tournaments that it's going to be top-tier dominant. I think that there will be a lot of Cinderella runs in the future.
All right, so that will end our basketball discussions. And when we come back, folks, we'll have a familiar face talking about America's favorite pastime. So don't go anywhere.
Oh, sweetie. Okay, you know what? Let's take off his sweatshirt. Get rid of pictures of him. You don't have to look at him. Goodbye, Dave.
Mom, you don't understand. He's tagged in like 400 of my posts.
I can cut out tags.
No, that's not how it works.
What is a tag?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care would love to share their firsts with you.
So recently, Gallo has been on quite a run of good shows lately.
That was a big opponent to beat there, but now they move on to the Three Rivers Classic where they've had some pretty good history in it. We're going to take a look at some of these games. They've won it a couple times. We're going to move on into that.
But it's led to the group starting to question his morals.
And that's when I said, you can't wear a sweater vest. Ian Kist wore a sweater vest. Hang on. It's go time. seeing this? You seeing these?
Can't believe
You
this.
seeing this literature? Hey, Gallo!
Yo, what's up?
What about these PEDs?
Huh?
Get on the ground!
It's a shame. Always happens to the best. That's it.
Welcome back once again to Sports Talk in the Burgh. With the Pirates opening their season tomorrow against the Miami Marlins, it remains to be seen what we'll get from the black and gold on the diamond. Here to discuss some takes he has for this upcoming season, some call him a Pittsburgh 10. Others call him the world's foremost Yinzer, but we call him Brett McGulick. Brett, take it away.
Why, hello, everyone. It is great to see you again. It is your favorite delusional Pittsburgh fan, Brett McGulick, here to specifically talk about some good old Buccos baseball. Now, tomorrow is opening day, so another season of pain and despair is on the horizon for us Pittsburgh fans. Well, actually, maybe not. Here are 3 takes I have about the Buccos 2025 season, some being a little spicier than others. But without further ado, let's get into it. The first one is going to be a little bit more mild, regarding Pirates closing pitcher David Bednar. Now, we all know the Renegade had a rough go about it on the mound last year, but I believe that it is going to be a one-time thing for him. David Bednar is going to channel his inner Renegade and return back to form that he once was. Last year, Bednar came in with high expectations, and for good reason. He had stellar 2022 and 2023. He was an all-star in both of those years and averaged a 2.25 ERA across his first 3 seasons with the Bucks. So in that time, he's what we call in business an absolute dog. Unfortunately, that did not stay consistent this past season. Bednar would have the worst season of his pro career, jumping all the way up to a 5.77 ERA. And there was one huge reason that I believe fans are not talking about enough. The Renegade had been dealing with a lat injury through spring training last year, which did not happen these previous seasons he's had with the Pirates. The 2-time All-Star did not make his preseason debut until late March, and only ended up throwing a total of 30 pitches in spring training. To compare, he threw at least 94 pitches in spring training each year from the span of 2021 to 2023. Now that Bednar is fully healthy, and if he stays that way, we may all be back on the Renegade train. Choo-choo! For instance, I am as well. But now, this next take heats things up a little bit. When we look back on the 2025 season in October, well, hopefully the Buccos will be still playing in October, but sometimes I have to keep it real, at least a little bit. Anyways, this team is eventually going to be out of their yearly honors, right? Including the team MVP. And you know who the team MVP will be? Oneil Cruz. Hear me out on this one, okay? Opposite of Bednar, the 2024 season was Cruz's best yet. He smacked 21 home runs, stole 22 bases, and 146 games played. And he's entering his season, and he's only 26 years old. What's hard to believe is that 2024 was Cruz's first full MLB season, and the numbers don't lie. He capitalized on that in the batter's box. The weakest part of Cruz's game came in the field this year, and that is already being developed. His move from shortstop to center field last season helped him immensely. He went from -3 outs above average at shortstop to +2 outs above average when he was placed in the outfield. You know, I'm not much of a math guy, but that's a pretty big improvement in such a short amount of time. And with a full offseason learning at the position, as well as a big monster he is in the batter's box, Cruz has real potential to become the team's superstar that is not named Paul Skeets. All right, things have heated up just a little bit, right? But get ready for this one. The Pittsburgh Pirates will be an above 500 team this year. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Oh, this is just one of Brett's Pittsburgh guy delusions again. And you're probably right. I'm looking at the Pirates this season with huge black and gold tinted glasses. But how can you be a fan if you don't have faith, right? Last season, Pittsburgh finished just shy of the mark, but the pieces were in place for a winning record. Nick Gonzalez coming out as a breakout star. You have a more mature Golden Glove winner and Brian Hayes at third base. Hopefully team MVP Oneil Cruz with the potential to be a batting machine as well as a fielding machine in his first full season at center field. Well, speaking of first full seasons, we get a first full look at Paul Skeets. He will then provide them a spark right from the start, rather than playing the will they, won't they game they did with him last year when the rumblings of him being brought up came about. And that's just the beginning of the talent this team has on the mound. Jared Jones is another young gun, as well as Mitch Keller developing into a true ace. as well as a reformed David Bednar coming to seal the deal. With young stars maturing and savvy veterans like Kutch and Brian Reynolds still around to captain this Pirate ship, there's some real chance, Pirates fans, we could finally see the Pirates play in October if the Pirates can find that buried treasure in the form of some wins. So say it with me, everybody. Let's go Bucks. All right, what do you guys think?
I think you're delusional.
You brought up the fact that they have a decent bullpen.
They do.
They are god-awful at hitting. How is that expected to improve?
That's where that DeBellin comes in. I mean, sure, you're right. Maybe they didn't make that many new additions when it comes to the batter's box, but that's where you can rely on some guys who are learning how to hit the plate. You don't just have to go.
Baseman either.
I mean, that you could see, like, maybe there's something this team could do. There's still many unanswered questions, right? But I guess we'll just have to see.
All right, now I can't wait for Paul Skeens to win the Cy Young and still finish below 500. But that's all for us. Thank you for Sports Talk in the Burgh. We'll see you next week.